Heading: Environment Protection Act, 1986. First point: the Environment Protection Act, EPA, was enacted by the Government of India in 1986. Second point: it was introduced after the Bhopal gas tragedy of 1984 to provide a comprehensive framework for environmental protection. Third point: the Act aims to protect and improve the quality of the environment and prevent environmental hazards. Heading: Aims and Objectives of Environment Protection Act, 1986. Side heading 1. Protection of Environment. First point: the main aim is to protect and improve the quality of the environment. Second point: it covers air, water, land, and their relationship with human beings, animals, plants, and property. Side heading 2. Prevention of pollution. First point: the Act aims to prevent, control, and reduce environmental pollution. Second point: it regulates activities that may cause harm to the environment. Side heading 3. Control of hazardous substances. First point: it provides rules for handling and management of hazardous substances. Second point: it prevents accidents and risks caused by dangerous materials. Side heading 4. Coordination among authorities. First point: it provides coordination between central and state authorities for environmental protection. Second point: it helps in effective implementation of environmental laws. Heading: Main Provisions of Environment Protection Act, 1986. Side heading 1. Definition of environment. First point: the Act defines environment as including air, water, land, and the relationship between living organisms and their surroundings. Side heading 2. Standards for emission and discharge. First point: the Act allows the government to set standards for emissions and discharge of pollutants. Second point: industries must follow prescribed environmental standards. Side heading 3. Regulation of hazardous substances. First point: the Act regulates the handling, storage, and use of hazardous substances. Second point: safety measures must be followed to prevent environmental damage. Side heading 4. Environmental clearance. First point: certain projects require environmental approval before starting operations. Second point: environmental impacts must be assessed before project approval. Heading: Powers of the Central Government under EPA, 1986. Side heading 1. Planning and implementation. First point: the central government can take necessary measures for protecting and improving the environment. Second point: it can prepare environmental protection programs. Side heading 2. Setting standards. First point: The government can set standards for environmental quality and pollutant emissions. Second point, it can regulate industrial activities to control pollution. Side heading 3, Inspection and Monitoring. First point, the government can inspect industrial facilities and collect environmental samples. Second point, it can authorize officers to conduct inspections. Side heading 4, Issuing directions. First point, the central government can issue directions to industries and authorities. Second point, it can order closure, prohibition, or regulation of industries causing environmental damage. Heading: Establishment of environmental laboratories. Side heading 1, Purpose of environmental laboratories. First point, environmental laboratories are established to analyze environmental samples. Second point, they test air, water, soil, and other materials for pollution levels. Side heading 2, Functions of laboratories. First point, to conduct scientific analysis of environmental samples. Second point, to identify pollutants and assess environmental quality. Third point, to provide technical support for pollution control activities. Heading: Penalty for disobeying the Environment Protection Act. Side heading 1, Punishment for violation. First point, any person or organization violating the provisions of the Act may face penalties. Second point, the punishment includes imprisonment up to 5 years or fine or both. Third point, continued violation may lead to additional punishment for each day of failure. Heading: Rules and Directions under EPA, 1986. Side heading 1, Environmental Rules. First point, the central government can make rules for effective implementation of the Act. Second point, rules are created for pollution control, waste management, and environmental protection. Side heading 2, Directions. First point, the government can issue written directions to any person, officer, or industry. Second point, directions may include stopping operations or regulating industrial activities. Heading: Water Prevention and Control of Pollution, Act, 1974. First point, the Water Act was enacted in 1974 to prevent and control water pollution. Second point, it aims to maintain or restore the quality of water resources. Third point, it led to the establishment of Central Pollution Control Board, CPCB, and State Pollution Control Boards, SPCBs. Side heading 2, Objectives of Water Act, 1974. First point, to prevent and control water pollution. Second point, to maintain the quality of water. Third point, to establish pollution control boards for implementing the Act. Side heading 3. Main provisions of Water Act, 1974. First point. Establishment of pollution control boards. Provides for central and state pollution control boards. Second point. Consent requirement. Industries must obtain consent before discharging wastewater. Third point. Monitoring and inspection. Boards can inspect industries and collect water samples. Fourth point. Penalties. Violations of the Act may result in fines and imprisonment.